Mom had her at a very young age. They moved away from their family from Winnipeg, moving to Labrador in a predominantly white community was really hard. She lost a lot of connection to her culture. I guess back then it was you didn't really want to tell people that you were a native. She remembers living in Labrador and seeing the indigenous people and the native people gas huffing and so many stereotypes, and all she thought about is, oh, I don't want to be like that. You're a child, seeing that kind of stuff, that exposure, that negative stereotypes can really have an impact. She used to go stay with her grandma in Winnipeg in the summers, and she remembers at the age of 12, she was really yearning for that connection, and she asked her grandma to take her to go get her spirit name. Grandma took her, but there was a lot of unanswered questions, and the cultural pride was put on the back burner. She finished school and eventually moved to Toronto and started going to Ryerson. There was a call out for Aboriginal students to work with a professor, and so MUKWA did that. She applied and started working with this professor and really was able to engage with the Indigenous community in Toronto. And she learned a lot about that population and things that she never knew before. She had graduating nursing school, she talks about having two opportunities. Of course, MUKWA decided to go work at the Indigenous organization. And that led to 10 years of working closely with Indigenous people and the communities, the at-risk populations. She experienced a lot of things there, and but she also had the opportunity to work very closely with the healers. This was so important for her. She was able to ask the questions, and she's really started learning and jumping in. She knew that it made her feel good. Her spirit was guiding her. As the years went on, her cultural engagement increased and she gained a lot of knowledge. But she put herself in meeting with those healers and speaking with them. She was able to learn pieces of herself that she was unaware of. She tells me that the little people used to come and visit her all the time when she was younger. And so that helped her understand her connection to spirit from a very young age. They were always around her. They were always taking care of her. Spirit always took care of her. She says there's so many things in life that we are unable to see, but it shapes how we are. Culture gave her the understanding of the concept of love. She was able to get the questions answered. That connection came from community. That was the only way that she was able to come back into her power. She says culture makes us the best versions of ourselves. Culture fills our hearts and our mind with the ability to love. Culture is everything to her. Access to this way of life is so important. She is doing the work that her grandmother would have loved to do. She knows that her grandmother is watching her and guiding her in the work that she's doing. Being a nurse in the Indigenous community, she's grounded in culture and ceremony and really uses those tools to provide the best care that she possibly can. When I asked MUKWA what is spirit, she responded, it's the definition of who we are. My spirit is exactly who I am and how I view the world. It is the ultimate being. When we come into this world, we forget. but spirit guides us through our life. So spirit is who we are. For MUKWA, spirit injury is when we don't take care of our spirits. When people around us don't take care of us. When people block us because their ego gets in the way. Our egos can put us in a place of anger and resentment. And you treat others poorly. That causes people to have spirit injury. That causes injury on a spirit. We can hurt ourselves by not taking care of our spirits and not taking care of the things that we need to do. Spirit injury comes from the lack of kindness. The goal of residential school was to take our identities away. Instead of celebrating each other, we were made to believe that one was more superior than the other. So how do we heal from spirit injury? MUKWA says we need to be present. We need to take up space. We need to ensure that there's culturally safe spaces everywhere we go, making us a part of community. Stop putting Indigenous people into negative stereotypes. Understanding that there are many reasons why we present the way we present, why we carry anger, why there is so much trauma. Indigenous people need to be in leadership, and we need to ask the question, how do we build relationships so that that understanding is more respected? I want to thank MUKWA for her teachings and her story. Miigwech Nahau.